Nicki Talks is a series of conversations that I have with local Gloucester and Cape Ann people who have interesting things to say and to share about themselves and our community. So today I'm really happy and grateful to have Jen Holmgren, who is a city councilor at large here in Gloucester. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you, Nicki. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So I usually start with a little bit of talking about where you're from and, you know, if you have roots in Gloucester or if you came here from somewhere else. And so how about you? Where did you come from?
Well, the story of the beginning of my life is fairly interesting, as it is for a lot of people who live here. I was born in Gloucester, actually at Beverly Hospital. My parents were the live-in curators at the Sargent House Museum. So I spent my infancy in that building. My father then took a job as the curator at the Battleship, Massachusetts in Fall River. So for a while we lived in the New Bedford area. And unfortunately, my mother passed away when I was 13 years old. My father and I don't speak anymore, but my aunt, my mother's sister, took me in, and my sister at that time. So I came back up to Gloucester, and I was fortunate to attend Gloucester O'Malley School and Gloucester High School, where I graduated. My family's been here for over 100 years. My grandfather's parents emigrated here from Finland and settled in Lanesville.
Hooray.
So, yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely. So we've been incredibly invested in this community for generations now.
Yeah. Well, that's a great story. So you, as a little kid, you were just running around all those rooms at the Sargent House?
Yes, there are pictures of me looking at the statue on the stairs.
Oh, how great. Wow, that's amazing.
It was a good time. I mean, I don't remember any of it. I was very young when we moved, but
it's imprinted in there somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My parents' stories of it really colored my childhood.
Absolutely, so. Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting. It reminds me of when I had Willie Alexander on, he talked about growing up with a minister as a father.
Wow.
You know, and just having these childhood memories of running around inside these sort of cavernous church and playing the organ at a young age. So those kinds of things are so formative for all of us.
They are.
Yeah. So you're really a home girl.
Yeah.
And certainly for me, who is a Lanesville-centric person, it's great that you're from Lanesville as well.
Thank you.
So when you were in school at O'Malley and Gloucester High School, what was that like for you? Were you sort of an eager student? Were you like a social butterfly? Were you like what was it like for you being a young person in the Gloucester school systems at that time?
What I really appreciated about Gloucester is the minute I moved here, the kids were very accepting of who I was. I had been bullied a little bit at my school down in Fairhaven, and middle school is tough for every kid. I don't think that any of us escape some sort of experience.
No one would want to relive it.
I developed very strong friendships with a group of people that I'm still very close to today.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And I thrived as a student at O'Malley and at Gloucester High. I graduated with honors. I was in the Honor Society. I actually worked at the Prevention Network when I you were okay. So Gloucester gave me the opportunity to be who I was, and didn't really judge, because this community does that for all of its kids.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was going to mention the Gloucester Prevention Network, because that was when we first met.
Yes.
So it would have been
1995, I think.
Yeah, 95 sounds right.
Yeah.
Because Hawk opened its first office there in Gloucester.
I remember.
Which is why I was there. So it would have been, I think it was December of 94 or something like that, January 95. And what were you doing there again? Would you share that?
I was a tobacco prevention peer leader. Right. So I was fortunate enough to have a job doing outreach and empowerment activities with peers, with kids my age. Encouraging our fellow students to stay away from tobacco, alcohol, and drugs through doing fun activities like dances. We went to fairs and did booths, that type of thing. So we wrote letters to legislators. It was very interesting and fun work.
It was such a vibrant time.
It
you know, and to
was.
have that office right on Main Street, it was really a hub. I just remember there were so many kids in and out, and all those different coalitions.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots. We were
that was
very fortunate.
A wonderful time, and thanks to Phil Salzman in part, right, for getting all that grant. He got federal money pretty much, right?
I
think
believe
so. I think so.
Yeah.
I should remember, but
yes. Yeah, I can't.
And there was a Young
we
Men's Coalition. I remember Young Men's Coalition, which was also great to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see all that again.
I would too.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Just the idea of that kind of prevention, really engaged prevention. So when you were growing up, and in high school, did you have, this is just a curiosity question, did you have any thoughts about, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yes, I did. I did. I wanted to go into journalism. So I thought I was going to be a communications major, and I was. I went to Syracuse University.
Okay.
I went to the Newhouse School of Public Communications. I got a degree in communications. My major was graphic arts, and then I came home and I had supplemented. My income at the time was through my work as a certified nursing assistant because it was good money. And for a kid my age, and the hours were flexible. I could pick up whenever I wanted to. I worked at Seacoast at the time.
Oh.
And I came back here and I thought, I don't want to move to New York or Los Angeles. I love Cape Ann too much to leave, and I love nursing. So I turned around and I applied for an associate's degree at North Shore Community College, and I got in, and I became a registered nurse in 2005. So.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that was your path, but I didn't know, kind of how you got there. Like
I sort of meandered.
Yeah. Well, we all do.
Yeah,
sort
as
of,
we
but,
do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And so you had a CNA license?
Yes.
When you were pretty young, right?
I did. I became a CNA at the age of 17.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wonderful work. It was very, very hard work, but I learned how to interact with people, and I got to understand what it is like to deal with some of the challenges of chronic illness. Helping people do the simplest things because it takes a lot out of them, and helping them maintain dignity, which is very challenging to do in a nursing home. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And so at this now, do you still work as a nurse?
I am a nurse. Yes, I'm a registered nurse at the Northeast ARC, and I work in their adult foster care department. So it's removed from the clinical aspect of it. It's not technically bedside nursing, but I help caregivers focus on making sure that the people who they're caring for, whether they're family members or friends, are able to be in the home safely and healthily for forever if they want to be for the rest of their lives. It's a mass health funded program, and it's something that people should look into, should take advantage of.
I actually didn't know much about that. That's interesting.
A lot of people don't. Yeah. I didn't know much about it at all when I was a VNA nurse prior to going to the Northeast ARC, and I thought, I know of so many families who could have taken advantage of this program.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tax-free stipend that people can get, and it's work. They're technically contractors through the ARC, and they have to maintain trainings, and they have to sign contracts, but it's
You mean the
worth
care
it.
provider?
The care provider,
Yeah.
yes, thank you,
Yeah.
yes.
And ARC is it an acronym?
It was an acronym,
Okay.
yes. They've moved away from that. It was originally established as the North Shore Association for Retarded Citizens.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
And that was back in the 50s, I think. But they call it the ARC.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
And are there a lot of people employed?
It's huge. I just learned a couple of days ago there are about 1,000 people who work for the Northeast ARC.
Wow.
Yes. It's a huge employer. It's the second biggest ARC in the country.
No kidding. And a lot of it is focused on the concept of aging in place.
Aging in place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Regardless of ability.
Yeah.
Which is my
really
jam.
Good to know.
That is my jam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
So.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend who's looking for a job, and he's an architect, and I said, there's a whole population of people who are aging and trying to figure out, what's going to happen if my spouse dies or if I get sick, and I don't want to leave my home.
Of course.
An architect with that particular, talent to go in and help remodel or figure out how to stay on one floor, or whatever the person needs, would be a great little niche for someone to fit themselves into.
Tremendous opportunity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So needed.
Yeah, it is so needed. Mm-hmm. Okay, so would you say that your love of Cape Ann, I already know the answer to this, and also your roots in Lanesville, and how did that play into your wanting to be part of the political environment here in Gloucester?
I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to this community that's given so much to me and my family, and to anyone who really understands what it means to live in Gloucester and to be a part of this place.
Yeah. And
we're all a part of this place here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So can you tell me a little bit about what do you feel are some of the challenges that we face as a community? And I know there's a million in everybody's life, politically, personally, but I wonder what sort of rises to the top for you in today's Gloucester.
100% what we've touched on, affordable housing, being able to age in place. Yeah. That is something that I hear and see every single day. On social media, in conversations with constituents. It's very important for me and for others on Cape Ann to allow people to be able to live their lives here without having to worry as much as possible. So I actually am going to be on our city's Housing Production Plan Implementation Committee.
Which means?
Looking into different places and opportunities for there to be more affordable housing built and maintained. So I am really excited. I can't wait to dive into that. It's just starting.
Really big issue for people on Cape Ann.
Yep.
I mean, I work with quite a few low-income people, and the struggle to even get on a Section 8 waiting list, and then wait for literally years. Is just an enormous problem. It's so funny because I was going to ask you, one of my questions in the parking lot over here was something like, is there any way that you see your nursing and your caring for people in that way segue and interface with your role as a city councilor? But you just answered the question before I had to actually ask it. So that makes a lot of sense.
I can understand. I've seen people in all sorts of economic situations. I've visited people in rooming houses and mansions and everywhere in between. We all want the same thing.
Yeah, we really do.
We do.
Yeah. So I know aren't you also part of one of the green initiative? Is that something you're involved in?
Tangentially, I have a lot of interest in climate change, and I have a lot of admiration and respect for what the city has done to become a green community, a Massachusetts certified green community. We, thanks to our Clean Energy Commission and several administrations now, we've been able to get grant money from the state to help support and pursue green initiatives. And we're going to be continuing to do that. And that's also something I'm extremely passionate about. Coastal resilience is something that we need to focus on. We are dealing with climate change, flooding, unpredictable weather.
And the mayor has talked quite a bit about that.
Yep.
And we are vulnerable.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
So I appreciate our legislators being proactive about doing things like hopefully dredging the Annisquam, at least as a short-term fix.
So how does that work? What does that do?
Well, it will allow for floodwaters to be channeled through the Annisquam a little bit deeper. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a massive effort, and it's not a permanent fix, but it's something.
Yeah, it is a massive effort. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I've heard that, but I didn't know really what it meant. So there's the housing aging in place, the environment. What are some other things that you think? I guess that not just that are challenges or that you're passionate about, but also that we as residents should be thinking about in the larger picture of our community.
I have to say, buying local and supporting local businesses is so important. We have a lot of very brilliant, up-and-coming young business people who are working very hard to make this place their own. Caitlin and Nick Pizzeni have done a tremendous job with the bowling alley, just as an example.
Yeah, they've completely re-morphed it, right? Yeah,
yep.
It's pretty great.
Yes, and we love going as a family. I mean, it's so much fun. It's our annual New Year's tradition. Our daughter always looks forward to going. They're going to be turning it into a brew pub now as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I heard. I was talking to my daughter about it, and she's moving back here after 20 years of not being here. And she was saying that where she lives now, where she's moving from in Beacon, New York, that bowling is like a hipster thing.
Really?
You know, it's kind of come back around.
That's so fun.
So
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good exercise. It's good.
Fun. It's totally
fun.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's one example, but of people really putting creative use to space that they have.
Yeah.
We're right now the whole city council is doing something called Counselors for Causes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, fundraising.
So that's tonight or something.
That is tonight. Yes, Council President Lundberg and myself, but mostly him, are hosting for Wellspring House.
Oh, for Wellspring, great.
Yes, I unfortunately had the flu last week, but my cause this year was Ocean Alliance.
Yep.
There are some others coming up. Councillor Cox is doing Cape Ann Animal Aid. Councillor O'Hara is doing Pathways for Children. Councillor Hecht is doing the Lobster Trap Tree Lighting Fund. So that's also creative use of space through the Cape Ann Brewery.
And they how does that work? Do they donate a portion of the proceeds to Wellspring in that case? Yeah.
Yes, 15% of the bill.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I saw something and I didn't have a chance to read it, but it was something about a joining together of local small business. Did you see that? It was in the
Yes, it's at the Topside Grill, right?
I don't know
tonight. Is that?
Yeah, maybe. But it mentioned
Next
the bowling
Generation
alley
Cape
people.
Ann.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I love that idea of
I
having
do
everybody
too.
come together and say, we're not competing with each other. We're building, a really vibrant economic downtown Gloucester, which.
That's how we succeed. We collaborate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're very good at that in Gloucester.
We are.
Yeah.
We are the best at it in Gloucester. We really don't compete. We collaborate.
Yeah.
We help each other out.
Yeah, it's a great model for the rest of the globe. Actually, I was going to say the rest of the country, but
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why, I co-chair the city's Domestic Violence Coalition, and I think that's why we've been able to go on for 20 years, because of that collaborative nature of people who are willing to kind of step up and be passionate about things and, put in their energy and, yeah. So I was thinking also about the about our little neighborhoods, our hoods. Riverdale, East Gloucester, Lanesville, Annisquam, Bass Rocks. All these little kind of universes within the larger, and I wonder how you think, what brings us together? Like what would myself and somebody from Eastern Point really be, put our heads together on or have in common, or and I know there's a lot of socioeconomic and cultural diversity. We could always use more in Gloucester, but what do you think brings us together? I mean, how would you? There was a project through the Writers Center, I think it was, and it was it might have been Rufus Collinson. I don't know if you know her. She was the poet laureate in Gloucester for a while. It might have been her project, but it was asking people from all the different neighborhoods to write poems about their neighborhoods, and then bring it together and have it be, all the different little communities within the larger community. So what? I don't know. It's a vague question, but I think about it a lot. Like how we're little plates are spinning, but we're all part of this bigger. And what do you think sort of unifies us? What would be like a unifying thing for
this is going to sound a little strange, but our community is so ancient in terms of the age of our country. I mean, we really have been here in one form or another since the very foundation of the United States.
Yeah.
There's a vibe here, and if you understand the vibe, then you fit in no matter what. And people here are extremely down to earth. If you are from downtown or if you're from Eastern Point,
Right.
Image is so far removed from what our values are here. As long as you are decent to other people, as long as you really understand what people truly want at the core, which I think is to be good to other people, to be honorable and hardworking, that is what binds us together.
Like the Babson Rocks.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Just hearing you say
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Those are our values.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's a great answer, actually, to a very windy question.
It's windy, like the water.
Yeah,
and that's what we do here. It's all good.
It is all good.
Yeah.
It is all good. I always say that, and I think I've said it before on the show, but that, I believe that people, if given the opportunity, will lean toward the light, like a plant.
Yes.
And it's exactly what you're saying, that people are basically good and basically have, really deep desire to connect with other humans and on a really very real, honest level. So,
Absolutely. And if you want to be left alone here, that's okay too.
Right.
Nobody minds.
Right.
Nobody minds.
I think part of that vibe is our artistic, our art community.
Yes.
It's so, whenever I go away and I tell people where I'm from, there's two things, right? Everyone knows this is from Gloucester. There's the perfect storm.
Yes.
And sometimes there's
true.
teen pregnancy and drugs, but they are fading a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But also, that's where, all these famous artists have lived and painted and produced all kinds of incredible pieces of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes us a really special place.
Art and fishing. It's
Art
true.
and fishing.
Art and fishing.
Yeah.
It is what we are famous
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm grateful for that.
And they do come together.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts about, or your reflections on what I've been calling a sea change in Congress?
I think it's about time.
Yeah.
I do. We are very fortunate here in Gloucester again, and this is something that sets us apart. But we have more diversity in our council than maybe other people do, and in our administration. We've had 2 female mayors.
Right,
We have our first Sicilian American mayor. And I, just out of curiosity, was looking at the gallery on the 3rd floor of City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
We had a female mayor in the 60s. The 50s or the 60s. Her last name was Corliss.
Oh.
And she went on to go to the House of Representatives for a while. I can't remember if it was Congress,
That's interesting.
the federal House of Representatives, or the state, but we as a city have been progressive for quite a while in terms of that. And there is always work to do. There is always work to be done.
Absolutely.
But truly, what is happening in Congress is a reflection of what is happening in our country in general. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of natives. And it is time for our House of Representatives and our Senate to be representative of that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
to reflect it
Yeah.
in race, religion,
Yeah.
ability,
Yeah.
sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yes.
And it's very exciting.
I'm very excited.
People say that maybe the current administration sort of had to happen in order for that reaction.
There was a big
really
reaction.
grassroots. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
about it. So would you call yourself a feminist?
I absolutely would, yes.
Okay.
I always have.
You always have?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. My mother was a feminist. She
What was her name?
Jacqueline Ray Newton. She had a pin that says "Women hold up half the sky."
Oh, I think I have that pin.
That
Left
that
over from those
sentiment-
days.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think I still have my little collection.
I grew up with that.
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely the way. And her parents raised her to be empowered to go to college, to drive, and to be driven to do all of these things that she wanted to do.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I'm grateful.
Yeah. And so, if somebody has some idea of what a feminist is, and someone said to you, well, what is a feminist anyway? What would you say?
That's a good question, because the definition has changed a lot. But
it has, and it changes according to somebody's, viewpoint and prejudices. And
I would say that my feminism is reflected in my striving to value every person's inherent worth and to advocate for them.
Mm-hmm. I think there's some old quote about feminism is the radical notion that, women are equal to all other human beings, something like that.
Yes.
Very basic.
Yes.
And not at all radical, actually. So we're almost out of time.
Oh my God, that did
I
go
know
by
it does.
fast.
It happens
wow.
really fast.
Okay.
So is there anything, I always like to ask at the very end, is there anything that you would like to share, either in your role as a mother, a nurse, a city councilor, just that you would want people to know about you, about your hopes for yourself and the future?
I would like everyone to know I am working very hard. I am trying my best, and I am grateful to do it. And in whatever challenge I accept, and whatever challenge is thrown at me, and I appreciate my family and my friends and my colleagues supporting me in my endeavors, and I hope to support them in theirs.
That's great. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Nicki. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome.